Hi everybody, it's Caroline here. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am creating a project for the Tracy Reed Designs YouTube Hop using the brand new collection called Equinox. This is a autumn fall collection. It's really gorgeous, and this is just the second project that I have created with this collection. So I've got all of my most of my papers left, lots and lots of stickers. There's loads and loads in this printable collection, so you'll see all of that coming together. And today I am going to be working at a 12 by 12 canvas, scrapbooking one 3x4 photo of my husband and I on a recent walk. I live in the UK, and although it is currently the beginning of September here, we're having a second wind of summer, so it's really hot. So I'm going to do a bit of a kind of tongue-in-cheek hint at that as part of this project. So I'm going to get things onto fast forward and voiceover and put this one together. If you'd like to purchase this collection, I will put the link to Tracy's site in the description box below, and I'll also put in all of the other links to the rest of the team who are joining in with the YouTube Hop. So please make sure you check out their videos as well, because they'll have lots of different inspiration on how to work with this collection. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing to do is to adhere down the 4 6x6 pieces of pattern paper to a background. I've chosen this brown piece of cardstock that I've had in my stash for absolutely ages. It actually works really well with the collection, so I could have just trimmed down these pieces of paper a tiny touch to have a brown border to the page, and I may well have done that if I had been scrapbooking some photos that were more kind of autumny, maybe some golden leaves, that kind of thing, or some corn, but because I was scrapbooking about the heat and summer and being out walking, I decided to just hide all of that brown paper. So what I'm doing here is I am going to mat my photo onto this dark kind of burnt orange paper. I've already printed these off at Traveler's Notebook size, so they're 4.25 inches wide by 8.2 inches high. I generally print the collection, the papers from the collection, all of them in one go at that size, because I work with them at that size a lot. I cut them down a lot, I build up on larger pages, use them in pocket notebooks, that kind of thing. And then if I want them a little bit bigger, I just go in with my printer and just print them off at a different size. Now I've decided to distress the edges of all of my pattern paper layers, but not the background. That was a conscious choice because I want the background, although it is a quadrant design, I wanted it to kind of work as a cohesive whole and not look as if it is separate pieces of paper, as if it's just one background. Other ideas you could do is I could have distressed the those edges, or I could have stitched it so that it was more like a quilt. I've done that before and that looks really good, but I've decided to just go simple and to just have those 4 pieces of paper in the background, and then to bring in lots of different paper layers as a kind of stack behind my photo. I want to use this journaling card. It needs to be to the left of the photo because of the orientation on the card for my eye, but I wanted the photo, the placement that I wanted the photo on the page, it didn't kind of work. So I really wanted the full 8.25 width of that plaid in the background, but in the end I am going to cut that down and then mat it again onto a different green. I'm pulling in all of the greens to match my husband's top, and then that burnt orange to match mine. So I'll be just trimming this down, doing some more distressing in a moment, and then layering it up on another piece of green paper from the collection. There's some gorgeous greens in this collection. Distressing everything in this stack so that there's lots of texture and interest, little tear there as well. And then because I decided to work with the that leaf, that darker saturation of the green in the background, I decided to work at it at that Traveler's Notebook size. It's slightly a little too short. I didn't want to go back in and print it just for this. 5 inches would have been perfect. Sometimes I do stretch these out to a 5-inch size. But instead it's it kind of caused me to be a little bit more creative and to bring out my ribbons in a little while. And so I will go off camera, grab some ribbons that will work well so that I can kind of tuck them under that layer and disguise things a little bit. So I've got this really nice dark green crochet ribbon and then some tulle. And I struggle really hard to get the tulle to stick. I had to use a lot of adhesive off camera to get that tulle to stick underneath the layers. And I'm really running out of this tulle now. So in a moment you'll see me cut it down a little bit so that I've got less on the layout, so more to use in a different project. I'm going to have to try and find where I can get some on a roll, I think. But I'm really pleased that I brought in the ribbon. It brings in an extra texture to the page, and it's not something I had planned. So I really hadn't planned to bring in ribbon at all. I planned to just do a paper stack and really quite minimal, all on one side. So it goes a little bit more textured, a little bit more embellished than I'd planned. But I really love the end project, and I love how soft it brings a softness to the page, and it just makes it a little bit more organic, a little bit less boxy, which can sometimes happen with this design concept. If I don't spill out over my paper stack, it can start to be a little bit boxy. Sometimes that's what I want. In this case, I didn't want that. I wanted some organic movement and some organic edges to the stack, and this works really well with the ribbon. So I've adhered the tulle down with my normal adhesive. I struggle to use this adhesive with the crochet, so I will add on some red line tape instead, which will help it to just stick down. For some reason, with some ribbons, when I use that Scotch tape and I kind of roll onto it, it doesn't adhere to the ribbon. It must be the texture of the fabric, it doesn't stick, so that's a little bit frustrating. So I had to bring in some red line tape, which I try to avoid because I find that red line tape down the years, my projects tend to fall apart a bit. The ones that I've put together with the red line tape, it's super sticky at the start, but then seems to go a little bit dry and crusty when I've looked in really old albums, so I do try to avoid it. Anyway, I am going to be putting things onto a little bit of a speeding them up a little bit in a moment, because I'd forgotten to speed these first few sections up at the start. Apologies for my nails, which are in a really dreadful state. I am due to have the polish removed, so they're all really chipped, and I hadn't noticed just how bad they were until I was watching this video back, but there we go. So I'm just finishing up with that ribbon. I've got a little bit of a gap there, so I'm pulling in a third ribbon, which is just a kind of natural cream with a brown flower motif printed on it. It's a bit of a kind of rubbery texture to the brown. I don't know where I got this from. It's been in my stash for absolutely years. I've got loads and loads of ribbon. Don't use it very often, but when I do, I really like it, so I need to remember that and use it more. And then once I have finished with this ribbon embellishment along the bottom of the the paper stack, which I think really helps to ground it, I am going to start pulling in a few extra bits from the sticker sheet. I've already die cut out all of the stickers from the collection. This month there were four pages of stickers. One of them was a daily tags sheet, so for prepping October daily, that'll be really useful. So I've printed that out, even though I'm a bit behind, just there on the bottom right. I haven't started prepping for October daily yet, but I will later in the month. And so I'm pulling in some tags and some embellishments, some journal spots, which I will use to hold my embellishments. I love the colour of this tag. I'm not so keen myself on the sentiment because we don't use the term autumn here. Fall here. We do use the term autumn. So I'm deciding that I'm going to stick something over the top of that because I really want to use the tag. I'm going to bring in this ledger tag because it copies the pattern over on the left hand side, so that's a bit of continuity across the stack here. And then I've also pulled in a couple of word phrase stickers and a word die cut. At this point, I'm not planning on adding in any additional embellishment because those two floral papers are quite busy, so I don't feel that I need to bring any of the gorgeous florals that are in this sticker collection. But I do, in the end, change my mind, which you'll see in a short while. So I'm just here adding in a few pop dots just for some additional dimension and things. Spilling things out over the edge of that stack, as I said, so things aren't quite as boxy. Planning to just stick a journaling spot over that sentiment, which you can still see little bits of it around the edge, but it doesn't really matter to me. But as I start to look at this, when I'm sticking down my title and things, I don't really like that journal spot there, so that's why I change things up a little bit and bring in some flowers, as you'll see. But just a little bit of light adhesive to hold things down before I go back in a little bit later on with some pop dots, just to lift things up and bring in some dimension and some additional texture. And then I will go off camera in a moment and bring in some really, really sparkly golden thickers for my title at the top left. And I'll also bring in a couple of brackets in each of the embellishment areas, just so that that golden sparkle is repeated in 3 places across the page. Because I didn't have all of the letters that I wanted for my title, I changed the kind of tone of the page a little bit, but I'm still very much referencing the fact that even though it's September, it feels like the height of summer here in the UK at the moment, so I'll put that into my journaling. And I am just going to lightly pull up that journal spot and then stick down this gorgeous floral cluster from the collection to just bring in more of that softness, more of that organic shape to the edges of my page, layering things up so it's just I've got a few florals just peeking out here and there, with pop dots, and just it's nice to have a little bit of shadowing and things on pages, especially when I'm working with a printable collection. And I really, really love that twine that I've added in to the 2 tags there on the right hand side. Definitely needed a third piece, so I pulled off camera, I pulled up the journal spot on the left hand side, punched a quick hole in it and made it basically turned it into a little tag, so that I had a third piece of that twine over on the left hand side, which looks really, really lovely. I've got a really, really big reel of this twine, so it features a lot in my pages. Here I'm just bringing in that gold sparkle to the bottom left and the bottom right, and then I'll be ready to add in my journaling, possibly just onto that journal card, but I have got those tags and the journal spot on the right hand side if I need to spill over, and then that will be this project completed. And here we have the finished layout complete with the journaling. I did actually use those 2 extra spaces in the end, and I am loving how this collection has come together. I love these 2 florals. They really, really just bring in the whole palette. I'm glad I decided to add in some additional florals. I think that just really helps hide that sentiment that I didn't want on there, and then making it so that it wasn't quite so boxy across the page. Really happy with this, really glad to get it into my album. Great to have this story told with this one photo of my husband and I, and just, yeah, really, really pleased. As I've said earlier in the video, this quadrant design is a really, really good one if you don't have a large format printer and you use printable collections, so that you can still print, you can still create a 12 by 12 layout. One of the things I love to do with this is have 2 quadrants of pattern. One is a 6 by 6 photo, and then one with 6 by 6 journaling just typed up, so it gives me space to have a really good focal photo, journaling, and then embellishment in the patterns. So I might try that maybe with this collection or a different collection in the future. So I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and if you don't already, please do subscribe to enjoy the rest of the team's inspiration using this Equinox collection. Please check out the links in the description box below to follow along with the team hop. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.